Hey, good afternoon, Drew. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for a little Super Bowl action this afternoon. I got my little Chiefs jersey on. So,
Yes, I only have one. It's T-shirt or khaki. Yeah,
excellent.
we don't have too many jersey options in here, but
Yep.
I'll take care of that later. I'm
Yep.
rooting for the Chiefs, though, so I feel you're wearing that for me as well.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, I gotta show some loyalty, to the wife's hometown. So, the
Yeah,
Seahawks lost out a little while ago. So, no, it's all good. Hey, it's been a while since we've recorded a video, so really
yeah,
happy to be meeting with you. And and I know we wanted to talk about the happiness hypothesis. So,
yeah.
by Jonathan Haidt, and I think a really pretty comprehensive book. I mean, 10 big reasons or 10 big ideas on as a psychologist that he thinks really underscore what it means to have happiness. And I really liked his hypothesis. It's not anything you can buy or acquire or achieve. That's like the modern day definition of happiness, which is a little weak, and everybody sort of knows that. But then he also critiques the Buddha from India's, and the Stoics from Greece and Rome, that their perspective is too limited too, because they're all about building a way of acceptance. Only concentrate on yourself and don't try to change the world or reality. Just learn how to deal with as things come at you. And his really big definition is, hey, it needs to be a mix of both, right? You need to focus on managing how you think, what you think, and what bothers you or how you react to your environment, being a person of integrity inside. But then also he really highlights the importance of relationships and love, and having some meaningful work, and then connecting to something larger than yourself. And you got to get the balance right between internal and external. And I think that really resonates with the talking, and the ideas and mental models that we have. So I think a
Yeah.
really pretty good book in that respect. What do you think?
Well, I think you stole my thunder. That's kind of what there are a lot of different great concepts in this book. The one that stood out most, and I'll read this quote: happiness is not something you can find, acquire, or achieve directly. You have to get the conditions right and then wait. And I think that speaks to something within our own human society where we don't want to wait for anything.
Yeah.
And I know that it speaks to me, and even at church this morning, the word that came forth dealt with that a little bit. And what are we doing as prisoners? We're doing time. We're waiting. And sometimes you get so focused on the end that you miss the process. And the process always takes place in the present. The transformation that we want in our lives is going to happen in the present. And this is where I'll tie that into this book, is that I have a responsibility. And my responsibility is to effectively manage the conditions of my life, the
Yep.
conditions of my relationships, the condition of my relationship with God, my relationship with guys around here, the condition of my relationship with my employer and my coworkers. These go to define the garden of my life. And whether I'm producing fruit or I'm barren is dependent on how I'm managing these conditions. But so often we'll toil, excuse me, um, we'll turn the soil of our life and then expect a harvest.
Yep.
And it doesn't work like that. You have to plant seed, the right seed.
Yeah.
You have to put it in the right spot
Yep.
at the right depth
Yep.
and give it the right conditions. And then that thing grows.
Yep.
And then there has to be the right season. And so I felt like with this book, now I'm starting to sound like a Sunday morning sermon, but but with this book, I feel like when we're talking about joy or happiness, it's the same thing. I gotta manage conditions in my life, and if and lately I've been going through some things because I'm 23 years into this, and I'm filing my papers, and I'm exiting this part of my life, coming back to your world, and it's coming with some stress. It's coming with some uncertainty, some fears.
Yeah.
And I have to manage the condition of my thinking and choose what my focus is going to be. And that's what I liked about this book, about that. Manage the condition.
Yeah,
That's what I could.
I think that's really good. I started reading the intro to the Daily Stoic again by Ryan Holiday. And he said that one of the analogies that the Stoics always had, is that field is your life, and that's what you got to manage. The fence around the field is you got to use logic to keep bad things out, right? And then you really need to focus on cultivating. So the one word you didn't use was cultivate, and cultivation takes time. And you also have to know the physics, the reality of how things grow. And so you got to be in touch with reality. And what you want to do is use virtuous living almost as like the fertilizer. And that's what's gonna those are those conditions, right? If you're pursuing excellence and in line with virtue, you're using logic, you're following the laws of nature, bam, then you're going to be able to cultivate something pretty good. The other so that's pretty cool. So we resonated definitely on that point. I liked also his analogy of the elephant and the rider. um, and he drew that to the Freud analogy with the charioteer, or actually Aristotle with the charioteer and the two horses, but then Freud with the stagecoach, where you have your dad as a super ego, saying don't forget to abide by the rules. You got your own ego, and then you got the id, the passion. It was the horse. You're trying to control the horse. But I like the rider and the elephant because he really highlights that you are of both. You have the rider in yourself. The rider is the consciousness, but there's a lot of automatic subconscious and feelings and emotions and instincts and all this stuff that's inside of the elephant. And you have to train and cultivate a relationship with that elephant to get it to do the things you want when things are tough, or if your subconscious wants to eat dessert or drink alcohol. Hey, no, you got to train that elephant to wean off of that over time. You just can't do things instantly. And that's a good analogy for me. Like breaking bad habits or building good habits, it takes a while. And so it's really important to learn to acknowledge that you have to train the elephant. You can't just say, "Hey, go left here, go right there," because that elephant will say, "Screw you" sometimes. So I thought that was pretty good.
No, that's really good. I too like the rider and elephant imagery, but I want to talk about something called that he defined as post-traumatic growth. And I think we hear so much about post-traumatic, and we forget that there's another side to that coin called post-traumatic growth. And that's not to minimize anybody that's suffering from PTSD. There's a lot of guys in here that have that. But I'll read something out of the book. One of the first benefits is that rising to a challenge reveals your hidden ability. And seeing these abilities changes your self-concept. And that's such a necessary thing that you will operate and rise to the level of your self-concept. And you need challenge, fear, uncertainty, doubt. I'll tell you this. There's this verse in the Bible that's easily quoted, hard to digest. And it comes in the first chapter. And it says, "Blessed are thou when you face trials and tribulations of many kinds, knowing this, that the trying of your faith produces patience." And it goes on to list these. And I think in theory, it's like, oh yeah, I should happily embrace everything that sucks in my life, right? Because it's going to make me patient. But that's not really how we feel. But when we get to a place in our life where we recognize that it's the resistance of the wind that causes the kite to rise, and you and I are that kite, and we want our life to rise, then it's going to have to be the resistance that gets us there. A kite doesn't take off with the wind.
Yeah.
Takes off against the wind.
Yep.
But I want my life to take off with the wind, because I don't want stress. I don't want to have uncertainty, doubt, and I feel like this post-traumatic growth is saying it's only embracing the challenges and difficulties of your life that I can get your self-concept to get up enough. So when something comes against you, you don't nosedive into the sand. Your life goes to new levels. And I like that about post-traumatic growth, because one thing that we all face, whether it's you or me, and granted, you as a military guy, you have your own unique set of struggles. Me as a prisoner, I have my own. But even everybody listening to us, you've been through something. Yeah, there's something that's really challenged you. And when you begin to see that you can handle, you begin to see yourself differently. And you start to think, hey, I got this.
Yep.
And in that moment, when your self-concept changes, you're like that kite, you're going to new levels. And now you recognize that resistance is the very thing that's actually driving you higher.
Yeah.
And so that's what I liked about this post-traumatic growth thing. I feel kind of preachy today. I think Sunday morning service is still in me. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Hey, well, a couple things popped in my head. You know, both you and I love working out and exercise and whatnot, right? So that's, that's where you're putting stress right on the body, just trying to, force it to get stronger, get more endurance. And, that's part of, you don't go try to fly a kite when it's, calm and, tranquil outside. You jump out there when it's howling, right? So that you throw on those weights, you push and run that mile as hard as you can, etc. But I really felt that when I went through the Special Forces assessment and selection, because they totally, rip off the Band-Aid on how far you think you can push yourself. And I felt it again in Ranger School, when you're sleep deprived and you're food deprived, and how, hey, I can actually still go further. It's okay, one step at a time, just keep on going. And right near the end of Special Forces assessment and selection, they wake you up like at midnight, and they say, okay, get your 60-pound ruck on, plus water. We got a ruck march. We're not telling you how long it is. You just got to follow the chem lights through the woods in these sandy trails. And so you just start walking, and you got a little food. So you got to manage your food. You got to manage your breaks. You can't, if you got to be careful. If you sit down, you might fall asleep, and then bam, you're going to be out, right? And you got to keep your hydration going. And lo and behold, you end up going like 24, 25 miles. You don't know, nobody tells you how long it was, but you got it. And they, hey, they tell you it's timed, but they're not gonna. You don't have a watch. They don't let you have the time. So it's just it's a pretty good gut check. But you realize, oh, I can go a lot further than I thought. So I
Yeah,
believe.
and I think you could go far. You could go further depending on what's your focus.
Yeah.
And so that's key for me. Even if I'm doing a run, my buddies and I would do these hit exercises,
Yep.
and we're normally a couple of miles, 2-3 miles, and plus work. And so we create stations throughout the yards. In the last 5 years, they've given us sandbags. And so we create, and we try to, each station kind of destroys you.
Yeah.
Plus running, I hate running. But I know with a group of guys, and we're all trying to be an alpha dog.
Yep.
We're all trying to, push ourselves. But I mean, we definitely encourage one another. We're definitely not trying to leave each other behind, but we're trying to find our potential. But I noticed that I've had some of these workouts where I start to break. And I noticed that I break because it started with, because I'm in the same state that I was last week. And why did I perform differently this week versus last week? I led the whole team. I was killing everyone.
Yeah.
And here's the thing though. If you make it to the destination before everybody else, you're rewarded by getting in the plank position.
Yeah.
So you don't get to just do your exercises and just stay ahead.
Yeah.
Your reward for being ahead is more work.
Yeah.
But that fosters the team camaraderie. But my focus, and when I start to focus on the wrong thing, if I start to focus on problems, or if I get mad at the guy that just sprinted past me like this was nothing, suddenly I could feel my body shut down. And now every little thing is difficult. But when I change my focus, and I'm just like, hey, I have to, each lap is, I think, a third of a mile. I don't need to focus on the whole lap. I just need to get to those sandbags down there. That's all I need to worry about. And then get to that.
Yeah.
And then deal with that. And so I think having that 1% mentality where whatever I'm going through, I'm going to break this down into manageable, whether it's a workout, my career, my marriage, whatever it is, get your eyes off what's way, way down the road, because that's going to overwhelm you. Look at what's this next station. Does that make sense? Does that even relate to the book?
Hey, I think it does. I mean, because I think there's an aspect of managing your mental thoughts, right? So,
Yeah.
and he talks about the importance of cognitive behavior therapy, right? So, there's two aspects, and also you talked about having the ability to focus, right? So, he said that, hey, suppose you were to, read about a new special pill that could reduce anxiety, increase your contentment. It also has a bunch of side effects like, increased self-esteem, trust, improved memory, and the pill costs nothing. Would you take it? And he says, hey, the pill is meditation. Why don't you do it? It is the practice of focusing. And so this is something that I've improved since our last time we did the video, but I'm not doing it daily yet, and I'm still pushing myself to get there, because I could use that in work a little more, right? A little more refined ability to focus. Listening. I do a lot of video television conferences like this, working in Honeywell, and sometimes I should slow down and listen closer to what's being said by other people before I respond, right? Because I might think, oh, I got the answer. This is the answer, but no, actually, there's a nuance in there that I should have picked up on focus, block my thinking and my assessment of what they're getting at, truly listen to the words that are coming out of their mouth. So I think what you talked about, you can work on the ability to focus through meditation. That's another one of those tools to improve your ability to succeed, strive towards excellence and to get better. And that gives you part of that fulfillment, and that's part of happiness too. The other piece that I would say that you sort of hinted towards is having the ability to recognize negative thoughts, and that's the essence of cognitive behavioral therapy. Is if you can, and there's like 3 C's. First, you got to catch it. You got to catch the negative thought. You got to observe it. Once you catch it, then you need to check it. You need to see what is the distorted logic that's inherent in that negative thought. And then once you recognize that distortion, then you need to change it and replace it with a positive thought. And that's part of training the elephant. And if you can do that on a daily basis, one negative thought at a time, that is the proven psychological approach to make people more positive in their attitude and demeanor and approach in life. So 2 things: meditation and cognitive behavior therapy. I think that your vignette sort of touched on that's definitely part of this book.
Yeah, you definitely have to tell yourself what to think.
Yep.
If you're not telling yourself what to think, you're going to get that direction from social media, your coworker, the person next to you. What I want to say was Tony Robbins.
Yep.
What things mean, what to think, and what to do.
Yep.
And one of our biggest problems, especially inmates, and there's a lot of psychotherapy to break down about us in here, but one of the biggest things is learning how to redefine what something means. We're professionals at defining what's offensive. We have.
Hey, don't worry, we got that going on out here as well.
Oh yeah, but I mean, if someone says this, and this,
yeah,
we have to fight immediately. There's so many rules and boundaries and subcultures to subcultures within prison. It's crazy. It's a matrix. But even as I've been acquainted for 20 years, learning to redefine what things mean. And if I can get that, this doesn't mean I don't respect you. This doesn't mean I don't love you. This doesn't mean, then that's controlling that next metric is what to think.
Yep.
So sometimes we gotta update our dictionary, our personal dictionary, how we view life.
Yep.
And start saying this is what this doesn't mean. And so therefore, this is what I'm going to think, and this is how I'm going to respond. Because that happens with me and my coworkers all the time, and we love each other. We work together constantly. But good Lord, we get on each other's nerves. So, but
you don't need the latest soap opera of the housewives. You got your own the housemen soap opera going on.
We got real lives of prison guys. And we call it's like menopause. So, and we know we all got issues.
Yeah.
We're all dealing with a heavy weight. We're all missing our families. Some guys, haven't talked to their wives or lost their kids. And I think one of the biggest things is to recognize everybody you're going to come across today is dealing with their own stuff.
Yep. It doesn't matter where you're at or what level you're at. Everybody has stuff.
For sure.
Yep.
And if you can already, everybody's diaper that needs to get changed.
Yep.
I need my own change. I need my own diaper change. Yeah. That's a horrible metaphor. I understand that. But,
hey, we're at 40 seconds. So
yeah,
I think Jonathan Haidt had a great book, Happines Hypothesis. Teaches you how to train your subconscious.
Well, I encourage everybody to go check it out.
Yep. Helps you re-examine, what to think and what things mean, so you can do the right things. And
Yeah.
I think we pointed to how it was relevant to us. You in there,
Yeah.
me out here. We're just humans with our own troubles and challenges.
Yeah. Happiness isn't something you go get. It's something you manage on a daily basis.